Hey, what's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and I'm very happy to say welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast. It's been a long time, guys, since actually just before Thanksgiving of November, about 5, 6 months ago, before I last posted a podcast. My voice sounds a little hoarse right now. Believe me when I tell you, this is actually awesome. It's improving on a daily basis and it will fully recover. And there was a time where I didn't know that. If you guys follow me on social media, you know that I suffered a really severe hospitalization on lucky November 18th. Imagine that. It was on the 18th. And I haven't shared a lot with everybody as far as to what happened beyond some of uh, the more scary details. I spent 14 days in a critical condition and a 67-day um, run, I guess you could say, or hospitalization, followed by another 14-day hospitalization, in which I'm happy to tell you guys that things are getting dramatically better, and or I have been told that I will make a full recovery, which I'm getting very close to that right now. The reason that my voice is hoarse or sounds a little weak right now is because when I was hospitalized, it's a hard word to say, hospitalized, um, I had to have a surgery right away. And based on that surgery, they didn't know if I was going to need an additional surgery. So they kept me intubated. If you don't know what intubation is, it's basically a massive tube that's shoved down your throat into your lungs, um, and it basically, breathes for you. And usually, you're only intubated, right before your surgery, and then after your surgery, they take it out. Um, Unfortunately, my intubation period was 14 days. And what that did is it stretched my vocal cords apart. So when they finally took the intubation out, uh, it was crazy because I had finally woken up after that time period, and I went to speak, and it just nothing came out. How it works with your vocal cords is they're supposed to press against each other, and they vibrate, and that's how you create sound. And they were so far apart that when I would talk, it would be like, it sound like this. And that actually got worse over the next couple of weeks to the point where there was no voice. I mean, like nothing. And that lasted for 3 months. So I'm sure Laura probably, you know, enjoyed the fact that I couldn't, bitch or whine for 3 months. I'm just kidding. She's been amazing. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a moment in time where I was like, Jesus. I mean, if you guys also know me, music's very important to me, and singing and talking, and it's like all that's a part of what I do. And I'll tell you what, go a couple months without the ability to make a sound out of your throat, it's pretty scary. But thankfully, um, slowly but surely, the voice has come back to the point now where there are measurable advancements every day. In fact, when I first wake up, my voice sounds perfect, sounds completely normal again. But by the end of the night, it always kind of sounds a little hoarse like it is right now, which they say is just a matter of strengthening my vocal cords, and that over time they tell me it'll be fine. Now, as far as what happened to me, if you haven't followed me on Instagram or Facebook, um, I basically said there's a lot to it, and it just so happened that we were filming nonstop leading up to the hospitalization, and it was just really, really bizarre what happened. And if I just told people about it, I honestly think I would sound crazy. But I know that, let me shut this phone off over here. I know that when you guys see what happened, you will fully understand. And it will be shocking. I can promise you that. It's pretty shocking to me. Um, and every bit of it will be in the Harbingers uh, trilogy documentary series that I am also happy to say that I am now able to edit and work on again, because my health unexpectedly became a big part of the story. Um, so I just want you guys to see what happened versus me talking about it, because it was without a doubt the scariest time of my life. And so if you guys can just kind of, I've always shared with you guys, always. I mean, there's probably more about me and my family and my life that I put out there than most people, because it's just kind of part of my art and my life as a storyteller is just sharing what I've lived and what I've learned. So I promise you that you guys will know everything. And again, I just think once you see it all, it's uh, it's going to be shocking, but also important because I think there's a really powerful message there. And but I have been asked other questions uh, that aren't really about what happened. Um, for example, was I in a coma? I was not in a coma, but they did pretty much for that 14-day time period. They did keep me heavily sedated, and man, guys, it was touch and go. Laura had to sign the paperwork, uh, basically of them saying that, uh, these surgeries they were doing, there was no guarantees that I would survive, and that, they had told her that my percentage of survival was less than 5%, which, as you can imagine, was horrific for her. Um, but I am here, and thank God. And ironically, this, uh, near death experience, I guess you can call it, ironically, this actually probably put about 30 years on my life because when it was all said and done, um, I lost a ton of weight. I got down to as low as 177 pounds, which is too low, trust me. And I'm back up to about 195 right now. I stopped smoking. My health, as far as how I feel amazing. Um, it's really just about endurance and like strength right now. Because the one thing I will share with you that was completely shocking to me is after, the first couple months I was in there, the last couple weeks, they started doing physical therapy, and the physical therapist walked in and said, "Okay, we're going to start your physical therapy today. I said, okay, well, what are we doing? And she said, well, today we're going to work on you sitting up. In which I laughed and I was like, what are you kidding? And she's like, no, we're going to work on you sitting up. And I had not even attempted to sit up that entire time that I was in there. And the bed, it was a mechanical bed. So you'd push a button and the back of the bed would just kind of lean you up. I would do that to watch TV when I was awake or to talk to people or attempt to when I was in the room. But I hadn't tried it on my own. So I just kind of laughed and I said, well, I mean, I could sit up. I mean, and she said, I don't think you recognize what's happened to your body. The trauma that you went through and the amount of weight you lost, which at that time I didn't know. I hadn't seen myself in a mirror for, 2 months. I didn't know really what was going on. And I said, well, okay, I can sit up, I'm sure. And they said, okay. So, they moved all the blankets off and they, just kind of sitting there in this gown. And she says, okay, sit up. And so I kind of nod my head and try to sit up. And it was like an anvil was on my chest. I was just like, what the fuck? And I couldn't. I could not sit up. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was just struggled as hard as I could. So she said, well, let me help you sit up. So she sat me up at a 9-degree angle for the first time, and my head dropped. And what I mean by that is, like, if you ever, like, with my daughter, when she was a baby, like, when they're first born, they don't have the strength to hold their head up. And I didn't have the strength to hold my head and look straight forward, which I could not. I mean, that was definitely a moment of, inner panic. I was like, what in the hell? And so that became like my first physical therapy routine, which was sitting up and holding my head up. And so I asked them, how long will this take me to regain my strength? And they said, well, it really is, it's up to you. How much do you want to work out? And we'll go at your pace. And I had all these like really fundamental, like, just muscle building, exercises that I had to do in a bed to get there, which, yeah, it was crazy. That was a really freaky time. And, Laura was like, well, you know, she didn't know that I hadn't seen myself. And she's like, well, look, I'll bring a mirror and you got to see what you look like. And she brought a mirror into the room. And yeah, I didn't even recognize. Yeah, I did not recognize me at all. Especially at that time, I had a big, burly Grizzly Adams beard. But at the same time, I was 170 some pounds. And I mean, you got to remember when I started uh, my, diet plan, 3 years ago, I was approaching 400 pounds. So we're talking about, like 2/3 of my body weight, I had lost. But thankfully, look, I could walk around. I'm good. I mean, I could sit up, no problem. I just started having the strength to get up and down stairs. And now I've got to the point where, like I said, the recovery is, measurable on a daily basis, which is really what I needed to get because I liken it to like a diet, like, that level of recovery. Like the first, 4 to 6 weeks are the hardest because you don't see the, uh, I guess, the increase in ability fast. It's all very, very, very slow. And at times it seems like you're just getting nowhere and you're never going to recover. But thankfully, I'm in a great place now. Really, it's just about endurance. I do get tired easy, but even that's getting better. With the voice, like a month ago, I would wake up and my voice would be normal, and it would take about an hour and it would start to become hoarse again. Now, most of the day, it'll be okay. And like in the afternoon, like, right now, it'll start to get a little bit like it is right now. So you will continue to hear my voice get better and better. And if I record in the morning, which I'm sure I will, like I said, it is back to normal in the morning. As far as what was the experience like of being in critical condition for 14 days, I talk about it a lot in the uh, Harbingers series, so I'll leave a lot of it for that. But what I can tell you is strange, terrifying, and bizarre, and um, beautiful all at once. It was weird. There were moments that I know weren't real, like things, the mix of just my body teetering on the edge of leaving and, being under, so much medication uh, and just so sedated and so foggy. And so there were really strange, bizarre memories. And then there were other things that I believe were real. Real meaning not just, a byproduct of sedation, but like things that I know happened. Because some of those things I mentioned to Laura, and she's like, "Yeah, that happened. Wow, I can't believe you remember this." Um, Scary, because there are definitely that kind of. They talk about, your little life passing before your eyes, um, and kind of reliving moments that for some reason came back to me from my childhood and even older, and beautiful because there was definitely moments where I just I never gave up. I never wanted to go, but definitely moments where I felt as though if I did, and it was meant to be, that there was this feeling that I would be okay and I would see everybody again. Um, yeah, I mean, that's a really, really basic way of, I guess, trying to describe something that's indescribable. But yeah, it was a lot of things. But again, in the film, I'll get into that more. The Harbingers series. Um, but overall, guys, I'm back. I am so happy to be giving you a podcast. Next week, I'm going to announce the release date, which will be very soon, of the Harbingers extended trailer to all three of the chapters. Uh, I just, rather than do like a teaser, then a 30-second, then a 3 minute, I was like, you know what? I just want to give you guys a big picture glimpse at what this is because I can already tell you it's easily going to be the most impactful, the most powerful thing I've ever made. And the people involved with it were incredible. And when you see kind of what it's about, because it's not some ghost hunting documentary, and it is about the paranormal. It does involve some, ghost hunting, but it's really about evil and a mystery. And, well, you know, I'll let the footage speak for itself. But I think you guys are going to be more excited to see it uh, than anything else that I've ever done. Um, So enough about that, okay? It's not that I don't, want to answer more of you guys' questions about it. It's just I'm in a good place. I'm recovering more and more every day. I love all you guys, and I want you to see everything as it happened, which will be coming soon. But what I do want to talk to you guys about is the UFO public hearing on Congress, and also um, the thoughts from Mr. Skyfall, because I have gotten two responses in the last 2 months from him. Um, but first off, did you guys watch it? In the comments, let me know what you guys think as well about what happened if you watched it. I actually set my alarm to watch it and got up bright and early out here. Got up at 6, had some breakfast, and by 7 a.m. I was up to watch it. And this David Grush character is really interesting, but as I'm watching it, it just looked so Hollywood, and like so many things just became really, really obvious to me. I told you guys for a long time, I'm having the hardest time trusting anything from, Corbell and George Knapp. And, there was a shot where, where they were sitting, where this Grush, he's the whistleblower, and he's center stage, to answer all the questions that Congress has about, the reverse, engineering program he claims that exists. And, just all the things he said, that UFOs exist, aliens exist, they've killed people. And on the right of him is Corbell. On the back, on the other side of him is George Knapp. And now remember, those guys have claimed that they are civilians, that they don't, work for the government, that they're not any part of, a government plan to roll this out and militarize it. But it's just like, well, okay, then how are they there? How is it that every time the government wants to release a new piece of nothing burger footage, like the first three, Corbell magically has the footage. And he continues to release it. And he continues to say, there's more coming out. On this day, I will. And then a congressional hearing. He's in there sitting next to these guys. And the second it's over, he's on every media outlet that there is. And, the thing is, I would love to talk to him, because it's like, I want to believe that he is this just enthusiast that got involved, and he's, just one of us, you know what I'm saying? But I can't buy it. I just cannot buy it, man. And it just seemed like a play. When I watched it, for some reason, it really seemed like this is so fabricated. And when I look at everything that Skyfall has predicted, it is all playing out that way. And this entire thing right now, that entire hearing was about danger, 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 danger. Near misses. Oh my God, these pilots have almost flown into these things. Mr. Mr. Grush, people been murdered to get this information out. Yeah, are you in danger? Everything was like murder, danger, scary, bad. Like, there was like nothing. Not one person throughout the entire hearing said, you know what? This is fascinating. Like, this is, the idea that there are other intelligent species that could communicate with us, completely rewrites our entire history. It rewrites religion. It just there are so many incredibly exciting and interesting things. What this does for the field of science, the overall field. Like, there wasn't 1 ounce of that. Everything was scary, scary, scary. Militarized, militarized, militarized. That's all it was, which is exactly what Skyfall has predicted. Right down to he said, look, when this all starts going down, and when the we are not alone official narrative comes from the White House, he said we'll be engaged in a war in the Middle East. And now, we're learning that we're on the doorstep of, picking a war with Iran. At first, I thought maybe it was the Ukraine and he got it wrong or something, but this is all just playing out, you know? And the reason that, Skyfall wrote me back is I wrote him and said, well, look, there's this whistleblower protection now. So come forward and follow these, programs that can protect you if you're really worried. And he said, none of it's real. He said that real whistleblowers like Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, Ed Snowden, these people, were jailed or currently are, being held in a battle for their life, or they have to live in another country like Snowden in Russia. And he was like, if this was, if Russia was a real whistleblower and he was, releasing information on this magnitude, he wouldn't be freely going on the news, running around America like no problem. So basically, Skyfall's take was this is all just a continuation of what he said is going to be this attempt to get the world to believe that we should unite to take on this dangerous alien presence. Which, Rush came on and said in his first interview, he said, yeah, there are aliens out there, and I do know that they've killed people. And maybe that is the case. I mean, if it is, I'm just to the point where it's getting harder and harder for me to get excited about this. Because if Skyfall is correct, this is all just leading to an attempt to get everybody to unite against, the ET presence. And that's not exciting to me. That's not. What would be exciting would be, recently I've been, reading more and more of, David Greer's, sorry, not David. Recently I've been reading more and more of Stephen Greer's stuff. I just watched his documentary about how to regain the technology that we've lost over the last 100 years. And it's really, really fascinating stuff. And, he makes a lot of points that are, just undeniable. The bottom line is if this type of technology, 0 point energy, that type of thing, if it did exist, it would destroy, what Skyfall calls the energy elite. It would absolutely take the power away from the industrial military complex. And that's the other part of this that I don't understand why Congress and everybody at these congressional meetings, or this one that just happened, it's like nobody is acknowledging that there was a time period where if you mentioned a deep state or a shadow government, you were looked at like a loony bin. You were like Alex Jones, But now they're all fighting to say, yes, this exists. There is a deep state. They're running these dark programs that, retrieve alien bodies and UFOs as big as a football field and all this stuff. And okay, but if those programs exist, someone's running them. That means the deep state exists, the shadow government exists, which I think most people do believe that there is a deep state. But you can never identify who they are. Like, who's running these programs? Who's running them? You know? And no one's talking about that. It's like they're just talking about how, oh, Gresh has the info and he's, more's coming. And I do believe more is coming. And I do believe we're going to see footage and we're going to have that day, where the president says, yes, we're not alone. But it's just becoming harder and harder for me to get excited about it when I see the narrative being twisted over and over again into this fear-based protocol. It becomes more and more obvious why you have presidents saying, beware of the industrial military complex. Because what I believe, I think the shadow government is the military, period. Period. I mean, I think that's the main reason why we can spend whatever amount of money that we want on anything that we want. I remember before Afghanistan started, there was like a financial collapse like in 2008. And suddenly we have trillions of dollars to spend on senseless wars, right? Now we're not on the gold standard. That was signed away years ago. So what gives our money value? What gives our money value is our military. The fact that we'll say to other countries, you're going to value our dollar at this, this much to keep the economies running the way they are. And if you think, for a second, if you try to, take away that stability and try to crash our financial infrastructure, you'll face the might of the U.S. military. I mean, that's really what gives our dollar value. The might, the brute strength, and the threat of the industrial military complex, who is in bed with the energy elite. They both work hand in hand. And that's who I think would be running all of this stuff, all of this deep state. But there's zero discussion about any of that. It's all just about, oh my God, we got to be so careful because these UFOs, there was near misses, and there's records that they've killed people before. Well, first of all, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, what does America do when we come across things that are new, that we don't know what they are? We saw it out here in the Battle of Los Angeles. There's something off the coast. We don't know what it is. Huh. Shoot that fucking thing. That's what we do. We fire. We fire. Let me ask questions later. So I say to you, if these things, these UAPs, UFOs, extraterrestrials, if they're a threat to mankind, man, they're not showing it because they've existed since the dawn of time. From hieroglyphics to paintings to wall cavings, like these things have always existed. And we just don't have tales of extraterrestrial beings coming down and just wiping thousands of people off the face of the earth. We just don't have that. But that seems to be what's going on right now. And I'm so sick of it, man. I'm so sick of government fear tactics, I'm just so sick of government fear tactics. So I was let down by this congressional thing. Afterwards, Corbell's out there. This was groundbreaking and historical. What, 3 dudes went to Congress in a new room and said way less than they said on Rogan or on Newsmax? I mean, they said way less. Nothing new. Nothing new came out. Fravor, talking about the Tic Tac. in little sound bites. Graves, who I think has his heart in the right place. He's the one guy that I think may actually be, a non-actor whose role just kind of falls in naturally to this program because he's really working on safety. That's his thing. But he said way less than he said on Rogan. And Rush, not only did he say way less than he said on his interview on, I think it was News Nation, when they were asking him questions, he was literally saying things like, well, I've already answered that on News Nation. Well, yeah, but you're here, so answer it again, motherfucker, I don't know. And I would love to talk to Corbell, I would love to talk to him face to face and just be like, dude, what is your deal? Like, you just seem like such an actor, and I just want to believe that you're a good guy, that you're like one of the dudes that you're just this filmmaker with childhood wonder that found his way into something really timely, and you're really stoked about it, and you're helping. But it just, as I'm sitting there watching him, it kind of goes back to this one answer where he was asked, God, what interview was it? I was listening to him. I think it might have been. Oh, he was talking to a secure team, an interview with him. And he was asked, how does he, gain these contacts and get access to this footage and all this stuff. And his answer was, he literally said something to the effect, almost verbatim, of, because of my brilliant fucking personality. I mean, that was his answer. Because I'm just so charismatic. And people know, they can trust me. And I'm thinking, so that's all it takes, huh? Because Tom DeLonge kind of said the same thing. Tom DeLonge believes that he wrote a book and figured out, the secrets to the universe. So they came and grabbed him. I hope by now DeLonge can see that he was exactly what everybody claimed he was, which is basically, the, not that he's an idiot, because I don't think he is, but the whole, you're a useful idiot, meaning you don't know what your role is, but we can put you in a place where you can do something for us, and you'll think it's something else. Which they just used him to just soften the blow that we were going to go down this narrative. Don't have a hardcore, scary military general announce that. Have the dick and fart joke guy from Blink 182 do it. And Elizondo, Lou, Jesus, let's not even talk about that guy. I'm just really seeing that a lot of this is playing out exactly as Skyfall predicted. In which, yeah, so I know some of you have asked me if he was going to, at least two of you messaged me to say, hey, is he going to use the whistleblower protocol? And his response was, it's not real. That if there was real whistleblowing and, with any of these guys, that they would not be safe. Nor does he think that he would be safe. So, yeah. He also, just so you guys know, I'll put another prediction out here. He said that and I look, straight up, I've seen this on the news in one other place. I forget even who said it, but he said that there is word going around right now that the official White House announcement that we are not alone will be coming within the next 3 months. And he told me this 3 weeks ago. So let's, look, the guy's been 98% accurate on everything that he has predicted. So let's hold him to that. Let's see if it goes down in the next 3 months. But yeah, anyways, I would love to know what you guys think about all this. I did not think yesterday was historic. I thought it was a nothing burger. More talk I mean, if there is going to be this plan to just roll stuff out and try to get us to all, bond against extraterrestrials, and if that's in fact what is going on, well, shit, man, at least show us some real evidence, man. Not those 3 ridiculous videos that show nothing. Tim Burchett and other, congressmen and women have claimed that they've seen different videos and photos and footage of things that are just incredible. It's time, man. It's time. This is all talk. It's just all cinema. And now that I've said this, rewatch the Congressional UFO hearing and just tell me if it doesn't feel like a play that somebody constructed. It just became very obvious to me. I mean, even more so than in the past. It just, visually, the look, the feel, the tone, it was just like, God, this is so placated. This is so incredibly placated. And if it's historic for the wrong reasons. But in regard to anything new, anything substantial, you know, footage, evidence, proof, nothing burger. It was nothing, man. Jack shit. But I would love to know how you guys feel. Let me know the comments below. Also, if you have not, please subscribe. I am back on it. I will work my way back up to 5 episodes a week again. I can't tell you that'll be this week or next week, but it's coming. I'm back. More episodes will be coming every week. And thank you all for sticking with me. Oddly enough, the podcast has continued to grow this entire time. We're 3 or 4 subs away from hitting 14,000, which blows my mind. Once again, thank you all for the messages, the get well wishes. That means the world to me. I can't even tell you, man. It feels good to be back. And I promise you, I will be back very soon with more. Thank you all for listening. All the best.